This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. 2025 is going to be a very interesting year for the Cleveland Browns organization because they have a lot to respond to and a lot to answer in this offseason alone, right? You have the failure of the Watson trade being fully realized last year. And now in 2025, you get to deal with the fallout of that, right? The fact that we're not considering that Deshaun Watson is going to be the starter going forward for this team, that's not something you can assume going forward with this team. That's a huge deal that the Cleveland Browns are going to have to figure out a short-term solution this offseason to, and eventually a long-term solution sometime in the future with Deshaun Watson and what they're going to do with him and with the quarterback position going forward. Also, Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, they were spared being fired last year, even though they had an abysmal record this year, partially because of what they were able to accomplish before, right? 2 11-win seasons with these guys. This is the only regime to have won 11 games twice with the Cleveland Browns since coming back in 1999. Okay, it's not hard to see the argument for them keeping their jobs this year. But what is it going to take for those guys to keep their jobs next year? Like, what's the expectation? What are the goals for this next season? The Browns have more questions, more serious, long-term impacting questions to answer this offseason than they've had since they've went 0-16, right? When the Browns went 0-16, they had the number 1 overall pick, and they had every question on the board, right? Are you going to get a quarterback? What are you going to do at quarterback? Luckily for the Browns that year, that was a year where there were multiple quarterbacks that you could justify taking number 1 overall that year. Josh Allen, nobody would have batted an eye. Same thing with Baker Mayfield. Same thing with Sam Darnold, right? Like, all those three were heavily rumored to be in the number 1 conversation. And then you have guys who are a little bit of an outlier to that conversation in Lamar Jackson. Josh Rosen, right? Like, was another one that was thrown in there. But this is not the same situation. The Browns have the number 2 overall pick. But this is not a draft where there are a ton of quarterbacks that you can justify at the position. Some would argue, I would argue, I don't think any of these quarterbacks you could justify taking that early because the ceiling on those quarterbacks just isn't high enough to make sense of them being that early of a pick or to center your whole build around those players, right? If you're going to center a team around a quarterback, you want to make sure that quarterback is as good as you can possibly get. I don't know if these guys will be that. We'll see what it is, right? We'll see what Shador is. We'll see what Cam Ward is going on to the future. But the Browns have to answer that question, right? They have a lot of things that they have to answer. And look, some of these questions, you're not going to solve them in 1 year, right? The fallout of the Watson trade, the fact that you don't have a franchise quarterback right now, which, look, you haven't had a franchise quarterback in franchise history since like Bernie Kosar, but you thought that there was a chance that you could have a franchise quarterback when you had your number 1 overall pick playing quarterback for you. Then you moved on from that guy, got a guy who was a franchise quarterback, so you thought he was going to be a franchise quarterback. Now you're in a situation where you got to figure this out, right? Do you want to try to just do it all in one swing and go draft somebody super early and hope that they can be your answer? Do you want to sign somebody in free agency to hold you over for a year at the quarterback position? How is it that the Browns want to handle that, and how they decide to handle that will determine what the expectations are for the Cleveland Browns season. I got a fun, interesting stat here. In the last 10 seasons since 2014, teams have won 3 games or less, I believe, 20 plus times. And 4 of those times, the team has responded the next year by winning 7 or more games. Nobody's ever won like 8 games in the last 10 years after winning 3 or less games the year prior, right? So 7 is the highest you could go as far as how you can bounce back from next year, which would put the Browns at a 10-win team. Is that good enough for this core? Is this good enough for Kevin and Andrew to keep their job? Like, how many games do you think the Browns have to win next year for them to keep their job? What is it going to take for there to be some what is it going to take for the Browns to justify having some stability in Cleveland, right? I know a lot of people want to fire the coach right now. A lot of people want to fire the GM. What's it going to take for people to be relatively okay with heading into 2027 with Kevin and Andrew Berry? How many wins is that going to take? The Browns are also in an awkward place. They have spent so much time investing in the core of players that were mainly drafted in 2017 and 2018 that now we're getting to the point to where those players are getting older, right? Denzel Ward is not past his prime yet, but he's getting to his prime. Myles Garrett is fully in the middle of his prime. You have Nick Chubb, who some worry might be past his prime. And if you look at the offensive line that this Cleveland Browns franchise rolled into prominence, well, you got Joe Bitonio, who might retire or who's close to retirement age. Wyatt Teller has not been the same for a couple of years. Ethan Posick is getting up there closer to 30. Jack Conklin is 32, and he's had multiple season-ending injuries, so who knows how his body's going to hold up. The only young guy you have is DeJuan Jones. And because you spent so much time investing in supporting the core that's there, you haven't had a ton of top 5 picks, right? You haven't had any top 5 picks. The Browns selection at 2 this year will be the first top 5 selection they have made since they took Denzel Ward. So what that means is that when it comes to talent that you're going to build this thing around, those guys are hitting a certain age. Does that change how you try to attack it? Are you just trying to get the most out of those guys still? Or are you trying to get as many impact players as possible so you can also have a new core that you could build around? The point I'm trying to get across in this video is that the Browns, for a while, were trying to build up a team. And then once they felt like they built up a core, they then started to try to maximize it. And that's what they've been doing for the last 3 years. They've been trying to get the most out of a core. Okay, we need a quarterback. Let's go get a quarterback. Okay, we need this. Let's go get this. We need another edge. Let's go get that. Let's trade. Let's trade here. Let's sign somebody here, right? And they've been doing that for the last couple of years. But now the job changes a little bit for Cleveland Browns. Now the Browns aren't trying to maximize the roster as much as they're trying to retool it. They're trying to remix what they have here. This is a different job than it was last year. It's going to require a different mindset, a different way of thinking about it. You got to understand what your goals are for next season. A lot of people suggest going quarterback. Why? Because they want this quarterback question answered as soon as possible. But is answering that question as soon as possible going to be the way to land you the best possible shot at getting a franchise quarterback? I don't think that is the case. I think impatience here will end up being very costly in the long run if you're the Cleveland Browns. It's tough to be patient about the quarterback position, but if you look at the teams that make it work, patience is often required to solve the quarterback position. So just got to do what you got to do there. Does that mean you go after Kirk Cousins? How many games are you trying to win this year? Is it worth it to try to win 10, 11 games, make the playoffs if you don't think that you have a real shot to win the Super Bowl? I don't know the answer to all of these questions. I don't pretend to know the answer to all of these questions. But these are the questions that have to be on the mind of the Cleveland Browns as they enter this offseason. And look, the truth is this offseason is going to be a true test of if this organization has the right people in place. Because there are ways you could play this offseason that are going to help you in the short term and benefit you in the long term. Teams have done it before. The thing about that list of teams who have won 3 games, the thing I found interesting about going through it, and if you want to go through it, go through 2014, pick all the teams that have won 3 games, look what they did the next season, it's not the most depressing list because you go through there and you see not that long ago, Detroit only won 3 games. Not that long ago, Houston only won 3 games. Hell, not that long ago, San Francisco was only winning 3 games. Teams go from 3 wins into building something all the time because, yeah, winning 3 games sucks. But when you only win 3 games, you're exposed to opportunities that can help you dramatically change your positioning going forward. Just got to play your cards right. This is the test for the Cleveland Browns. This is the test for Andrew Berry. This is the test for Kevin Stefanski. Yeah, we know Kevin Stefanski is capable of coaching a team to 11 wins. We've seen him do it twice. But is Kevin Stefanski capable of rebuilding a team? Yeah, we know Andrew Berry can put some things together, right? You know, he can accelerate some things that have already been built, but can Andrew Berry build it himself? Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out what 4 years of continuity, 4 years of experience gets you. Look, it's no mistake. I believe in continuity, and I think continuity helps you greatly as an organization. Well, that's the one thing the Browns have on their side. Yeah, they won 3 games this year, but they have the benefit of continuity to be able to help build themselves back. So 4 years of experience, 4 years of drafting, 4 years of coaching, having that in your back pocket, that should help you make the right decisions this offseason. We're going to find out what you have in Kevin Stefanski and what you have in Andrew Berry. The debate will be over by the end of the season. Either we will all feel much better about this or we will all understand what's going to happen next. But that's really it. What are your goals for the Cleveland Browns in 2025? What are your expectations for them this upcoming season? Let me know in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.